Yes. Okay. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's Women's Day special. A day which is meant for all of us to celebrate who we are, what do we believe in, what do we stand for, and how much of fun it is to be born as a woman. So, every one of you, do you really believe that it's a big fortune that we are born as a woman? Are you really happy that you're born as a woman? Come on, let's start from Angela.
Yes.
All excited. Meena. You're on mute, Meena.
Of course, very happy. Very happy about it. Yeah.
Yes. Shefali.
Very, very happy. Proud of it.
Proud of it. Vidya.
Truly fortunate to be born as a woman.
Yes. Amrita.
Yeah. Very blessed and happy to be born as a woman.
Absolutely right. Hina.
I have no doubt about it. I'm so happy to be born. I'm so proud of myself and proud of other people around here. So yes, really happy to be born as a woman.
Wow. Janvi.
Absolutely. It's an amazing feeling. I really feel beautiful.
Anuja.
Oh, I think it's the biggest privilege any human can have to be a woman.
Yeah, absolutely right. Shivya?
Yes, absolutely happy, fortunate to be born as a woman.
Bobby?
Of course. And if there's a rebirth again as a woman.
That's awesome. Great. Dipti?
Honestly, as a kid, I always thought otherwise, but today I won't exchange it for anything else.
Wow, that's awesome. Hi, Purnima. So, dear friends, today, like we all know, we are here to discuss some really important, crucial things that we all go through. And we are going to discuss our beautiful stories today. It's going to be fun for everyone. So before I start, a very good evening to all the other people who are joining us live on the Facebook and someone who will see us live. I mean, after the live repeat telecast would be someone who's watching. So it's a welcome to each one of you, the men and the women, both of them. The women because they're going to discuss their lives, and the men because they have to understand their better half. And if they don't do so, believe me, the relationship doesn't really work very well. Women agree or no?
Yes.
It's a must, right? So let's really welcome all the men and women who are joining us live on ND Life Coaching for this Women's Day special. And today we are going to discuss a very important theme. And that theme is about let's complement and not compete with each other. What does it mean? Where does this word competition come from? How did we really reach here? That is what we're going to discuss. And the best part is each one of us really comes from a very different walk of life, different culture, different background, and we are still here together for celebrating the Women's Day. So before we really understand where does this competition start from and where did we reach, I would like to really invite each one of you to introduce yourself quickly so that people know who you are. Yes, go, go, go. Anyone can start. Let's not wait for each other.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Hello. My name is Amrita Kanetkar and I am in Pune. I work as a senior delivery manager in a Japanese IT MNC. I've been associated with ND Life Coaching for more than 2 years now.
Okay.
Hi, this is Shefali here. So I also live in Pune and I work with corporate and I'm connected to ND Life Coaching for almost 6 years.
Okay.
Hi everyone. This is Vidya. I'm a professional. I'm a language professional. I work for an MNC, and yes, I've been associated with ND Life Coaching for nearly 5 years now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Angela Meyer. I'm a life coach from the United States, and I got associated with ND Life Coaching through a Tony Robbins platform.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Anuja, and I'm a makeup artist and salon owner in Pune. And I have been getting coached by Nutan Didi for over a year, and I'm so excited.
Yes.
Hi everyone, I'm Hina Sharma. I'm based out of Bombay. I'm a PR and marketing professional, and I've known Nutan for last 3 to 4 years, I guess. Yeah, it's been absolute privilege to know her and to learn from her every single day. Thank you, Nutan.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Kshitija and I'm a homemaker and I have known Nutan for the past 20 years now.
Yes.
So hi, I'm Bobby. I'm a HR professional with Tata's, and I have known Nutan from the time I've opened my eyes, I could say.
Amazing.
Good. You didn't mention the number of years.
No, age should not be discussed.
Yes. Who else is pending?
Hi, I'm Dipti.
I'm Janvi.
Sorry.
Okay. Dipti, go ahead.
So I'm Dipti. I'm from Bangalore. From the professional front, I'm an education consultant. Personal front, I have a 4-year-old. Known Nutan for 15 years now, and each day has been amazing with her.
Hi, Punima.
Hi, Nutan. How are you all? So good to see you all virtually, though.
Yes. So could you also introduce yourself quickly?
I've done multiple things. I used to be a journalist, then a publisher. Currently, I work for Ernst & Young in their forensics department. That's the professional front. The personal front, been married for 9 years and counting. And we have a 5-year-old daughter.
Great. So welcome to each one of you.
I think I didn't introduce myself.
Okay, Meena, please go ahead.
Meena and Janvi are pending.
Okay.
So I think, I'm based out of Bombay, and after a career of about 16 to 17 years in the corporate, I decided to be a freelance writer, and that's what I am right now. And I'm a proud mother to 2 teenage daughters.
Wow.
Wow.
Task of life. Mother to 2 teenagers. Yes. Janvi?
Hi, I'm Janvi, and I'm an in-house legal counsel in one of the MNCs. I hail from Pune, and I know Nutan ma'am since almost last 10 years.
Great. So guys, really a huge welcome. I'm really very happy that you all could make it on time, reach here today. It's a tough day for all of us, but we are here on time. And I would like to welcome all people in the audience, Alpana, Arshi, Mayuri, Neetu, Amay, Chetna, Hiru, Aishwarya, Manish, Varun, Bharti, and Pooja. And we'll keep welcoming all those who are coming in later to join us. So before we start, I thought why not start this session with a little small introduction of my background. I'm Nutan. Everyone just spoke about me. I'm really happy that everyone has good feelings and good thoughts about me. It feels really privileged and to be blessed to have such amazing people around me. I start from a background where my mom really comes from a very small town. But when we were groomed as a child, so we were 3 siblings. Eldest one was my brother. He was 5 years elder to me, and then my younger sister, that's Bobby. But in our growing up process, I always noticed that, since there was an age gap between me and my brother, so when all 4 of us, my parents and both of us would go have fun and come back in the evening, there were many times my brother would actually have cooked dinner for us and kept it ready. Or we've stepped out of the house, he's really washed the utensils and everything is cleared up in the kitchen. As we grew up, we started sharing those responsibilities with our mom. So I never found that there was any difference in we being raised. All 3 of us and my parents, we all grew together, sharing responsibility of each and every household chore that we managed. We would really take care when my father would come home late and try and see that he can sleep well. Other than that, I don't think that we really divided anything. It was just who comes first and who just manages the responsibility. So as we grew up, I never felt that thing that, there is a difference between a boy and a girl, because my mom really made it clear. The other thing which I really remember about her was that she wanted both of us to be well educated. So she really took care, though she doesn't come from such a great education background. She ensured that both of us studied to the highest level, so which then, and it remains today also, that both of us have done our MBA. And she said that she will ensure that we don't get married till we are financially independent. So she was so focused and she made that happen. So that's contribution to my mom on this Women's Day, that if it wasn't for her, both of us really wouldn't be leading that kind of life. And I'm sure each one of your mom has contributed towards your growth. So that's about me. I'll keep pitching in a little bit more every time whenever we are discussing that part of life. From Amruta, let's start. Could you share how was your childhood?
Sure. So like I mentioned, I come from Pune and probably a typical middle class Maharashtrian family. And my parents were very supportive. Of course, they wanted me to study and all. But unknowingly, somehow, because I have always been the healthy one in the family, I don't know, maternal side, paternal side, I'm the only one who's healthy. And so I always had that complex that I am not good looking and I am the plump one. So probably people don't like me. My family doesn't like me. And from that unknown, thought in my mind throughout my childhood, I was in the competitive mode with my brother, because I felt that if I don't prove myself again and again in every aspect of my life, my family would not love me. So I always was overachieving in studies. I was really working hard to get really good marks and was always in the top 3 or 5 of the grade. In sports also, I was trying to do a lot of things. If not this sport, then that sport, something or the other. I was in dance, I was in singing. You say it and I was there, because I always wanted to prove myself that I am good, and I wanted that attention in my family. Yeah, because I felt, like I said, I was not good looking, or I was plump. So I thought my family will not love me if I don't prove myself. So I think from my childhood I got into that competitive mode, that I had to prove myself and I had to show the world that I'm really good. So that competitiveness just kept on building, and I kept on achieving
Right.
on all fronts.
So this was about Amrita competing because of her brother getting all the attention. But what about you, Janvi? You were brought up in a joint family with all siblings as sisters. So being brought up in so many women, how was it like?
Yes, so of course, being in a joint family with all 6 sisters around, we never felt the need of having any more friends. And although I would say that it was a lot of fun, and I inculcated the qualities of sharing and caring, but somewhere, it was also something about adjustment, getting adjusted. So my grandfather and my father, looking at them, because theirs was the last word. So we had to kind of obey to them. So the habit of being, obedient, and rather than expressing, just suppress your feelings and adjust to it. This is how I think my upbringing went about in that joint family.
Okay. So Janvi, your not expressing became your way of life. Has it helped you in any way?
Absolutely not. In fact, earlier I used to feel that, not expressing myself means that I'm not hurting someone else. It means that I'm kind of thinking about them. And that's how I used to feel, and I used to keep things to myself. But later on, I realized, no, it's the biggest cause of misunderstandings, be it in relationships, be it at my office. So more than solving things, it became a puzzle, and misunderstandings grew because of me not expressing.
Okay. So I would like to move on to Meena, who has apparently been brought up in a very different environment. Meena, can you really share the circumstances that you grew up in?
Yeah, so I grew up in a very small and beautiful place in the northeast of India. And apparently it was a terror-stricken place. And I literally grew up under curfew, which means you don't step out at night. So my life was very simple. It was all about playing with friends, and no movie halls, no shopping, so it was a very different kind of life, which felt very normal at that point of time. And also, because it was terror stricken, we always were considered to be Indians, and the people there were not considered to be part, they did not consider themselves to be part of India. So that discrimination always was there, but I never understood that, and nor did it feel abnormal. So as I grew up, I thought it was very normal to feel that way, that, you know, that I did not belong to the place, but still this is my place, you know. So it was something, that kind of feeling. And as I grew up, what happened was that, you know, I to feel belonged, I was trying to adjust, and I was trying to imbibe the qualities, trying very hard to be one of them. So that is how I grew up. And till I, like, you know, stepped out and came to mainland, like, you know, that is when I realized that, no, you know, you can just be accepted the way you are. True. And yeah, and that is where that whole thing, but still, even if I look back today, I feel that that childhood which I had was indeed very special, and I have no complaints about it. But yes, I, like, you know, I did not feel, I always try to, like, you know, feel belong to that place. And I think that is a feeling that I carried. And because of that feeling, like, you know, as a personality, I try to adjust in every situation. I try to add value, whatever value I can in any situation, so that, you know, I feel belonged, I think. Yeah.
So Meena, that means that the corona lockdown and curfew didn't really hamper you so much.
Not if you just adjust.
Yeah. In fact, it would have triggered some childhood memories. Thanks, Meena. I would now like Shefali to really share, how did she grow up as a child?
So my childhood, I was not at all studious, and my brother was very good in his studies. So, so, you know, the whole importance and attention was being given to him from the whole family. And I used to always feel that my mom only loves him. I still feel the same. And I used to feel that usko isliye pura importance mila jata hai. So at that moment, because I was not studious, that competition thing started at at my childhood itself. So I used to feel that now the whole importance will go to him, attention will go to him, and I will not be able to study. So I used to get into all other stupid things, and in that anger mode. And, you know, so it was like, the competition started in my childhood itself.
Right. So you started competing with your brother in the bargain of seeking importance and attention, right? Yeah. So how did the relationship really turn over the years? So that was the childhood, but as you grew up, you got married, moved to different places. Has the relationship remained the same? Did it turn out better? How did it go?
Oh, I think it has increased more. I mean, the competition, instead of studies, now it went to a materialistic thing. So the city does not affect us. He was in Mumbai, I was in Pune, but there were many other things which we started competing. So it started with the materialistic things. Then for children, when we both have children, then the competition between the children, there are things. So it kept on going and going, and it didn't stop for so many years.
And did that affect your work environment? I mean, the way you were working?
Absolutely, totally. That competition thing was in my blood, I feel. So I think that's the only reason I got into sales, and that competition were more, because there again, it was of numbers, getting to be number one. So more of aggression, more of anger, more of jealousy, more of to be, competition increased more, and I just wanted to be number one.
So I would like to welcome Akash, Neetu, and all of you. I hope you're enjoying our stories, the different backgrounds that we are giving. We would love to really hear your comments on what are you understanding from all of us and our background stories. Really waiting for all of them. Till then, let's move to Amruta. Amruta, is anything related to Shefali reaching in your life? Did it affect your work environment?
Absolutely. So like Shefali said, I got into that mode that anywhere that I have to, gain importance or attention, I have to become very competitive and, really go for it. And that reflected in my environment, in my work environment, of course. So turned out well, because of course in workplace you have to be competitive, but I was under that mode that I have to compete and gain importance. So I went into that mode, giving all through. Like, I was overachieving in my childhood as a student. At workplace also, I have been growing very, very fast. And it's the same attitude. I think you just keep on competing. And especially, I think at workplace, I think most of us do experience some issues, especially as a woman. When you're growing fast in the organization, there are really mean things said about you, about your relation with your boss and whatnot, all those things that I don't even want to get into. But yeah, so I have heard that, but then that has again made me more competitive. That, okay, you say that, let me show it to you. Let me show how it is done and how to keep on growing and winning. So that has, I think, that reflected everywhere in my workplace. Wherever, for any promotion, for any new project, I am the one who's going all out and showing that I am good, take me, let me do it.
And what would be the ratio men versus women in the organization that you work?
So it is 1:3. And in the level that I work in, I think probably we are like 1:10.
Okay.
Probably.
Right. So even I remember when I initially started working, so I had done my MBA finance, and I started with the field of finance, that is investments and loans. And as a young girl, after doing her MBA, walking into men's office and really explaining them various investment options, or talking to them about, how do you really compare your loans? And men would really look at me and think that, oh God, do I have to really take it from her now? I have a better option? And they would actually call up my office. I was heading the branch in Nashik. That time I was working in an NBFC. And they would call up and they would find out that I'm only the branch manager. So they have no other option but to deal with me. But it really took me a lot of time to prove my mettle. And at the same time, fortunately, I actually trained around 100-150 consultants under me. They sold much better than me because men could take that knowledge from a man much easily than a female. Same thing I remember when I picked up a job, moved to Pune. I remember the first day, all of us have HR rounds where we are really welcomed in the organization. For me, when I reached Pune, 4 or 5 hours, I was grilled by the top boss and the HR guy hand in hand, saying that this may not be the right place for you. I think you should go back to Nashik once again. It took me 1 year, 2 months to prove that I went on being the best again and again. And finally, the boss who grilled me for 4 hours, after 1.5 years, started recruiting females in sales and marketing. So I think that was really a victory that I saw in that age. So we all, I think, have faced this kind of competitiveness in the work environment. Hina, how did your family environment groom you into the person that you are today?
So, Nutan, I come from a business family, but not like very rich kind. So very typical middle class Indian business family. So it was nice growing up because you're provided for everything. You've been looked after, you're protected by your family. And so it's all good, but so it was like an average growing up. Even in school, I remember, then I was just an average person till up to my senior secondary. And I'm like, because that's how we have grown up. That's how we have been taught. Like, this is minimal. You should know your limits. You should know how much you can afford and how much you can spend. But in this much, you can live a good life. I don't know what triggered, and I was not happy with that life. I just didn't want to accept an average life. I wanted to change my destiny, and there was no competition. I was the one kind of rebellious one in my family a little bit. So I still remember fighting with my papa, my mama, like, no, this is not acceptable. This cannot be my life. I want to change my destiny. So that's how I have challenged myself, and my competition is me. I strongly believe that's what it is. And I just wanted to change my destiny. I wanted to do something in life. And that's where I took off, and I went to, London to study. I then worked there for almost 7 years. then I had to come back because of working visa problems and all. But I came back and I still didn't give up. Like, you know, I was like, it's okay. India is full of opportunities and I can create another life here. And that's what I have done. I have just kept challenging myself at every stage in my life because I want big things for myself. I have big dreams for myself and I just want to, you know, I'm a like go-getter. I'm an achiever. I just want to do this and get everything what I want for myself. So that's how it has been for me.
Right. So I think passion to achieve your dreams made you so competitive that you started competing with yourself every day.
Yeah.
So dear friends, while we have really understood from all of us at the panel that where did this feeling start to develop, that competitiveness came in, let's really try and find out how did it affect our lives, this competitive spirit. Till then, I would really like to welcome Shushma, Ranjit, Aishwarya, JJ, who else? There's another Aishwarya. So welcome all of you. I hope you're enjoying listening to our stories. Please let us know how you're really feeling about our expressions of life and where this competitiveness is coming from. Is it the same for you? Do you feel any different? Do let us know. So how did this really affect our lives, this competitiveness? Let me go back to Amrita. How did it impact your life, Amrita?
So, like I said, I was doing good in studies and work. So, and of course, thanks to my family, they were very supportive. I could explore a lot of different career options, lots of things. But that competitiveness had become so natural, so inherent in my nature, that wherever I am, I wanted to go out of the way, do things that normally you did not do, but to gain that importance, to be competitive. So that reflected in my relationships also. On my personal front, I always used to feel that I have to, have that upper hand over my family member or my partner or somebody, so that I can get that importance. If I don't, again the same feeling that they will not love me, they will leave me, or they might not need me in their lives. So I had to constantly do keep on doing things that is not really the normal or expected. Maybe it may be monetary, like gifting or something. I was like overdoing things, probably being so competitive to prove myself that I really am an important part of their lives, and that they should not stop loving me or discard me from their life. That was always a feeling deep down in all of my relationships that I have had.
Okay, what about you, Shefali?
It has actually not impacted, it has actually ruined my life. So, you know, I, because of this nature which was there of competitiveness, I have lost relationship not only in family, but everywhere. So either it was my school friends or my childhood friends, my family, at workplace. So it has totally affected in all the environment, wherever I was, everywhere, because it was so much, it was so much involved in my blood that whoever I meet, I used to only look them as a competitive. So it has really affected. So for me, it has actually ruined my life.
Okay. Vidya, what about you? You were a happy-go-lucky teenager enjoying your studies. Where did you take a U-turn?
Nutan ma'am, I would just like to tell, after hearing all these stories, I have been competing at a different level, I would say. Because, yeah, as you mentioned, yeah, I was a happy-go-lucky teenager. Good in academics. I used to get decent marks, and yeah, I was doing well for myself. Okay, so the story changed and took a 360-degree turn when I got married, and I shifted base from Mumbai to Pune. And there, my life saw, it went in a whirlwind. So what happened was, I assumed that I am the only one who loves my husband to the core, and I wanted every bit of him. I wanted him all the time besides me, and I assumed that I'm loving him, but it was nothing but my possessiveness for him. And there was his mother, my mother-in-law, who was equally wanting him, and I was in a totally different zone. I was a zombie. We used to compete right from the morning cup of tea, the food prepared, for everything. So that's what I said. I was competing with a different person at a different level. So yeah, things changed, and those things were really not good for me, and that changed my life altogether.
So did it help you in any way?
Absolutely not. As I mentioned, it not only took a toll on my in our relationship, in our intimate relationship. We had a lot of tremendous stress between. There was stress between me and my husband. The house was like noisy as ever because there used to be fights, crying, negativity all around. And in the bargain, it took a toll on my health, and unknowingly, I slipped into depression, anxiety, and at one point, I was on sleeping pills because of insomnia. So it was it took a toll severely on all areas of my life.
Right. So friends like you all have been listening to us, all those who are watching us, and here on the panel, we really, what we are seeing is, one way it helps us when you compete, but the other way, the only thing that you lose out is relationships. So whether it was Shefali, it impacted her relation with her brother, with her colleague, with her friends, whether it was Amruta, who really it impacted on her personal front, her intimate relation. It is a difficult thing to really identify that it somewhere is impacting your life in a negative way. This is one aspect of life that we have seen. I want to touch base on a little more different aspect of life, which comes from Kshitija. Kshitija, you are a homemaker today. You were working earlier. How was this transit for you? Was it really easy?
Yes, getting into a new phase of life, that is marriage, was exciting. But then the transition from becoming from work life to entering being a homemaker was absolutely something very different. It was a rough ride, I would say, because I was independent. I was working I was never used to be at home. I was never used to be sitting at home. I used to do all the work chores, whatever. I used to tell my mom that whatever outside work you have, tell me, I will do it. So it was like I was all the time out. And now this was a transition wherein I'm all the time at home. So it was, of course, a very difficult transition.
So what were the feelings or the emotions that would really be dominant in your life during that transition?
Yeah. So eventually I started gathering all these emotions, baggage of emotions like frustration, anger, comparison, hopelessness, all of these, self-pity, depression, all these emotions started tormenting me. Yeah.
And one of the most crucial one was guilt, right?
Yeah. I forgot to mention that.
Right.
Now I'll feel guilty about it that I forgot.
Meena, does it strike some bell in your ears listening to these emotions?
I think guilt is something, we women naturally feel because we are donning so many roles and, so many roles, we are a mother, daughter, teacher, cook, name it, and we are that. And somewhere we always feel that, we have not completely fulfilled a role or the other. So the feeling of guilt is it's natural, whether you're a housewife or you're a working person, because I think it's quite natural. And one more thing I would like to just add, listening to all your discussion around being competitive. So somewhere hats off to all of you who are competitive because I think that is something I never was. The only thing is that, because I always believed in complimenting. So I never went after anything per se. It was never a goal-oriented thing that, I have to achieve that. But yes, what I concentrated on is always to kind of grow myself, so every time, I would be reading books, or I would be enrolling myself in some course, or, I always kept updating myself, because for me, that was what I felt, would make me worthwhile. So somewhere that kind of really helped me, I think, along with my complimenting. So the theme today is, do not compete, but compliment. So I think I compliment. Now I should compete a bit, I think.
Dipti, does it strike a bell for you listening to Meena? Does it remind you of something?
Absolutely. It just takes me back to, a few days ago, I should say. So for me, it has always been my decision to be financially independent. And that's when I decided that I will take on all the responsibilities, whether it is managing my house, my child, or and even at work. Now, of course, with trying to manage so many things and running your own business, and there are so many things involved in that, that really left me with very little time for my daughter. And the guilt pangs were absolutely very, very deep, to that extent that, you know, it would get me back into times that I had so much difficulty having this child and I'm not able to give time to her. So yes, I mean, there have been phases, and you know that, when I've gone through this ups and downs. But if I had to find a solution to this, I realized that the only way is that let me delegate, especially the household work, to the home staff. And I think that whatever little time then I started getting is what I started giving to my daughter. So the transition is in process, I would say. It's happening, but there are still phases.
Right. Hi, Lavanya. So, Dipti, you delegated, you hired help, but what happened in Corona? Because there was no help available.
So true. So of course, we've all faced that. I mean, right from cooking to cleaning and all of that. So I think here too, instead of just kind of, you know, pushing responsibilities onto the other between me and my husband, and since we are a family of just 3, we actually sat down and we kind of divided the responsibilities between us. Thankfully, he even pitched in for the cooking, which he always says that I don't know how to cook, but he turns out to be a better cook than me. And even where the child is concerned, I mean, we always try to make it in such a way that if he had afternoon calls, I would manage her. And if I had evening calls, he would ensure that he's taking care of her. So I think that, you know, initially it was very, very tough. But once we made this understanding between us and, you know, went ahead to share the responsibilities together, it kind of smoothened things out.
Right. So Corona did help in many ways, right?
It really did. I think it's really brought us together much closer as a family.
Right. Amruta, coming back to you, when did you feel the need of complementing instead of competing?
So a few years ago, probably 5-6 years ago, I started seriously thinking about marriage, and I was not able to understand why, you know, any relationship I'm trying to get into, or, you know, if I feel that I want to get married to somebody, I just couldn't understand why things don't work out. And like I said in my previous discussion, that I was always trying to overdo things, and probably that was, you know, that competing nature was still there. And then I figured out that something is not right, I need help, and I reached out to you, that I think about 3 years ago, and that I'm really serious about marriage, and I don't know what's going wrong. I mean, if you see, theoretically on paper, I was like earning well. I had realized by then that I'm not that bad looking, still lacked a lot of confidence, but 10% better than before. But I was not able to understand that why am I not able to get married? Why am I not able to, you know, find a true life partner? And that's where I reached out to you. And then probably I started understanding a bit that we have to complement and not compete.
Okay, awesome. What about you, Shefali?
Yeah, so as I discussed that it has totally impacted my life. So last year, it has really affected at the workplace. And that time I felt that something is genuinely going wrong in my life. And it was been told to me from you from a long time that I have to change, but I used to never take it seriously. But that last year thing which has happened, that has really affected. And then I decided that no, I can't be into this competition mode. So I have to come to a compliment mode. And you know, when I thought about this, the first thing, the first name came in my mind that I should go and talk was my brother.
So
at that time, I just felt that.
Yeah, what did you share with him?
Yeah, so when that thing had come, I just called him and I told him ki I'm really sorry the way I have behaved with you from so many years. And I really miss you because you were the only one who used to always, whenever I used to cook something, you're the one who used to come, used to just take one bite and used to say ki bahut acha banaya hai. So I really miss that relationship with you, the time which we have spent, whatever, because my both parents used to work. So we two used to be there at home. So whatever time we have spent together, I really miss it. And the first reaction was to pagal ho gayi hai, phone rakh de. And I said, no, today I have cooked pav bhaji, and that time I only remembered you. So I again want to say that I'm really sorry, and thank you so much for everything what you have done. And you know, as an elder brother, you never reacted, and I did all the wrong things. So this is what I've done with him.
Right. So that improved your relationship with him, right?
Yeah, it has improved to 360 degrees. I mean, today we call. I like the thing is like the first. I think after so many years, I got a call from him in the morning to wish me Happy Women's Day, and now we talk every small thing. Either it is financial or it is related to house, related to our children, related to any damn thing. Now we just pick up the phone and we start chatting and. We keep on talking to I think some hours now. Otherwise, we used to only talk for 2 minutes. Kaisa hai, kya hai, wish kar diya, phone rakh diya. And the discussion has been happening. And this unity and this thing has really helped because my father was not well in the month of December. And the whole month I was there in Mumbai. And because of this unity, the whole family environment has been changed. Because there was no confusion to take a decision. We didn't need anyone. We were like, bol diya, ho gaya, dono ka discussion, and everything was been done. So it has been totally changed with one change of my competition to complement.
Right. So dear friends, like you all have been watching, complementing and not competing, it is doable. So let's really find out from Purnima that how does this really work? How do you complement and not compete? How do you still maintain your own identity and you still complement the relationship and do well in life?
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Nutan. So, I mean, hearing all your stories, I've also gone back to my childhood growing up years. So I realized that I've been brought up by an extremely strong mother who still continues. Unfortunately, we lost her about 5 years ago, but she still continues to be the biggest influencer in my life, despite not being physically around. Right. So we are actually 4 siblings in a gap of 5 years. So what I realized is unknowingly what the 4 of us always did was, so my mother just had one thing, that you cannot be good at everything. You identify what you're good at and you excel in that. So I was not good in math. She said, fine, you're good at languages, do something with languages.
Wow.
So I think all those years ago, probably I didn't realize the value of it. But now that I'm growing up, I realized that it's okay to not be liked by everybody. It's okay to do your own thing, as long as it gives you happiness, I think, so did my father. I mean, mother, of course, is the biggest influencer. My father also said, just because, so we are 3 sisters and 1 brother. So he said that my girls will be financially independent, will not get married till they are, sort of sure if this is the guy they want to get married. And they'll do their own thing. Just because they're girls. So was my mom. She said, like, for instance, cooking is not woman specific. It's gender neutral. So my brother cooks like, a dream, much better than us all 3. So I think what they instilled in us, which we still cherish, is that it's fine to be good at one thing and not be so good at another thing. And to communicate. I think that's what lacks in most relations. When you think of any unhappy moment, she would say, okay, I know you have an issue. I can see it on your face. Sit it down, talk it out, only then you go to sleep. So however uncomfortable that topic might have been, I would have had to communicate no matter what. And she wouldn't rest in peace till we communicated that. So I think that still holds good in our marriages now. I'm going to go to bed with it in my heart. I will tell my spouse that, no, look, this is not happening. This is how I want it. If you don't agree, you tell me. So communication, I think, at a lot of levels helps us solve, competition, negativity, unwanted castles that we build in our head, which might not be the case. But, because you are in a negative zone, you tend to misinterpret things. So I think communication is the key. And to not compare, indirectly what my mom taught us is that, fine, you're good at A, that's fine, just do it. So there's no point in competing with, you do your own thing, you compete with yourself and get better at what you do with each day. I think that's sort of, helped me also manage work, now a daughter, spouse, so of course there are issues, and who doesn't have issues?
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's been, with God's grace, pretty good so far. So thankfully I've been able to manage, and a lot of it goes to my mother.
Right. So Purnima, like I know her, one part of it is managing the in-laws, second part is managing her daughter, third part is managing her husband, fourth part is managing her personal relationship and working full time. She's working, of course, recently and now currently she's working from home, but she's been playing all these roles beautifully. And that is why I thought she'd be the right person to really tell us that complementing is better or competing is better. And like all of you heard, she said complementing was a better way to really do it all together. Thanks, Purnima, for really sharing your personal life with us. One thing which we should not miss when we as women are discussing, and that one thing is beauty. If we don't touch upon that, then I think we can never conclude a discussion between women. So Anuja, since you are in a profession of beautifying women, can you really share your opinion on what is a woman's beauty?
Absolutely. I think I've had the opportunity to work with so many women on their one of the most important days of their life, getting them ready for their wedding. I always thought on how can I possibly make everybody look so beautiful, like the best in their life. And I really dug deep and I realized when I was the happiest, I was my most confident. I felt really beautiful, like I could conquer the world. And I think this is what I decided was my goal, to make my brides, my clients feel absolutely comfortable and really, really happy on their big day. And to be completely honest, when we see a beautiful woman, we don't see the color, we don't see the eyes, we don't see the hair. We just see the smile. We see how happy and how confident and how fulfilled she is. That is the reflection. That is the reflection of her inner happiness that we see is the real beauty of a woman. And I think that is all we work on. Doesn't matter how much makeup or how much skincare you're doing. It ultimately all comes down to how you are feeling about yourself. Even though you are in your PJs, it doesn't matter. But how do you feel inside? How happy, how fulfilled you are.
Right. So Bobby, bringing in your viewpoint that when we were discussing, you were really very strongly opinionated that how do you look? It's your opinion or others' opinion matter. What do you feel?
So I feel, in continuation to what Anuja said, while we're talking about, inner beauty, we all say that it's the inner beauty that matters. But then I think in spite of knowing that, one has a beautiful heart, one really goes out and for the external factor. And many a times we say that, I think which Amrita shared, learning from her experience, that none of her family members made her feel that. It was not her mom, it was not her brother or her cousins, but it's she who felt from within, and when she fought that feeling that it's from within, was she able to do many more things, develop a beautiful relationship, get married to the person that she wanted. So it's many times we say that it's because others are telling, probably somebody else is making me feel that way. It's not about the other person. I think it's to do with what you feel from within. So it's about whether you respect your own self. I mean, nobody else makes you feel limited or lesser. But many times it's your own thoughts which make you feel that way. So I think it's all about how you feel from within. So it's about weight also. So I think, if I feel I'm fat for myself, then I need to lose weight. It's not because somebody else is telling that to me. So, it should be about me. It's about what makes me feel happy. And then that is something which would also be reflected outside. So that's what I feel.
Shiti, what do you feel?
Yes, as Bobby was sharing, though, like I used to assume that that's the perception of people, that people might be thinking that this is how I look and that's the reason I used to get conscious, but then actually I've come to realize that it was my own image about myself, that this is how I should be looking. But then that didn't fit the actual me that was raw. So I used to get really maybe frustrated or uncomfortable. So then and then that's the reason I used to click pictures in a certain way so I should look thin. So that was, So no one actually came and told me that, but then it was my own perception or my own thoughts that were making me feel the way I was. So that's what I'm in the process of changing now. So then I'm working on my health now. If I feel that this is the way I should be, so I should take some constructive effort towards it daily. So that that's what I've been doing, exercising on a daily basis to get fit.
Anyone else here who really takes a selfie looking at the angle on how
So I'd like to share that, you know, the double chin and the arm, and the stomach. These are three things that I will focus on, so it shows less. Whether or not I do it, I mean, I don't consciously do it, but the face shouldn't look, I mean, that's not negotiable. You can go as far as you can, but the face cannot look like a book. That's about it.
Hi Pallavi, happy Women's Day to you too. So, of course, I know it was a little diversion from our basic topic, but I think physical beauty is something which is so close to women's heart, and I thought we should broach on that subject. It was really important. While all these problems that we spoke about, I feel there's a three-step process. If we work on it, it can be resolved. And these three things that can be done is the first step comes from self-acceptance. Accepting who you are as a person, whether it's physical, it's spiritual, it's mental, it's emotional. This is who I am. Good or bad or ugly doesn't really matter. What matters is if I'm not happy about this aspect of my life, let me work on it. But first, let me accept myself. It starts from beginning to love yourself more than others. And I would really want Kshitija and Amrita to share their views on self-acceptance.
So so like the journey that I shared, it was a tough one because I was not ready to accept that I have a feminine side, because I was so not focused on my looks that throughout my childhood I had short hair and I was always into my brother's clothes like jeans and t-shirts, no earrings. So probably people who have seen me in my childhood will not recognize me with these earrings and everything. So I think I never wanted to focus on my look, so I was always running away. I hated seeing in the mirror. I was like, I didn't have any of the girly stuff that generally girls in school or college might have. I was absolutely not focused on my looks. So because I knew I don't look good, I didn't want to do anything. But I think 5-6 years ago I gradually started feeling that I can look good. So I started focusing, like I felt that I should lose weight, I felt that I should be fitter, so I started doing that. And then probably 3 years ago when I started with Nutan Didi, and I realized, like what she just said, Bobby also shared, that it was about accepting myself. I am like this, I am the way I am. Maybe I am overweight, but I know I'm fit. I still can do a lot of work at home. I don't feel lazy, I don't feel like drowsy. I am really energetic throughout the day, probably 24 hours a day also if I am awake. But I think that was more the journey of a self acceptance, because the day I started accepting that yes, this is the way I am, I really did not let people's comments bother me. Because uh, people talk in office, or maybe people who are not really close to you, but they just judge you by your physical appearance, will say, "Arey kya moti ho, you've gained weight, you've lost weight, what is this, you don't sustain your workout, this that." Used to really affect me before. But when I started the process of self acceptance, that this is the way I am, I know I am on the healthier side, but that does not make me ugly, that does not make me unfit, that does not make me lethargic. I am the way I am, and I think that drastically changed my perspective towards my life. And then I got answers, then I started my journey towards really finding a life partner, I think.
Kshitija?
Well, for me, like I have also started accepting myself for the way I am and being happy with it. Really being comfortable in my own skin and taking efforts towards bettering it. What I feel, and being really happy about that and about my own body image. Yeah.
Right. The next step, I believe, is self-belief. If you believe in yourself, things are very different. If you have self-doubt, things don't work your way. So would like to know from Janvi and Hina, what is it about self-belief? We can start from Janvi and then go to Hina.
Yeah. So I think not believing in myself or not expressing my own thoughts became a challenge to me, and it grew bigger and bigger when I started growing up. Maybe because of fear of judging or avoiding conflicts, or with the thought of not hurting others. This continued for a long time, and it's going nowhere now. It's hampering my work, it's hampering my relationships, and this is the aspect I really want to change in my life. I really want to start believing in myself, my instincts, my knowledge, and because I feel this is what is finally going to give a lot of confidence and courage in me. It's not only going to improve my relationship, but also make me successful, and most importantly, really make me happy.
Absolutely.
And I think that is what is
we all
actually
awaiting
today
and wanting in life, right? Hina, what about you?
So, Nutan, I'll go back to what I said earlier, right? I was very average person in my life. And I remember in school also, I used to get taunted, or used to get, a lot of, not hate comments, but like, no, people used to make me feel that I'm average, I'm not good looking, I'm not good for nothing. But somewhere I think the self-belief comes from my parents. I have seen them working enormously hard to make their life, to provide for their kids. I've seen my mother working really hard, my father working really hard. So that I think got into me from the very beginning. When I saw them, as I was very sure that why can't I change my life if my parents can do so much to make sure that we are comfortable. I'm sure I can do something for myself to change my situation, to change my story. And believe me or not, like once I decided, I was after my 10th standard, I was one of the most brilliant students in the school. I topped. I was I think amongst I think second or third. I can't remember now. Then I went to do economics honors. Then I went to London, and I just kept challenging myself, and I just kept believing in myself, and that the confidence that you were talking about, beauty, that confidence just came, and it used to show on my face, and I used to feel so good about it. So I believe for me, two things were very important: determination. I want to tell everyone, not just women, if you're a big dreamer, you can do anything in life. So dream big. And second thing, you must be self-independent, financially independent. Financial independence is so important in today's world, and everyone must work towards it. So these are the two things that I focused on, and I was able to achieve things that I wanted to achieve for myself.
Right. And I feel the third and the most important step is self-worth. So I would really like to know from you, Meena, how do you define self-worth?
Yeah, I think self-worth, I'll put it in two parts, So one, I think self-worth comes from, having this constant feeling in you, not to feel defeated, So, we will all go through our ups and downs. And I think, we really need to understand that this part of life and not give up at any point of time, however, hard the setback is. So I think that not to feel defeated will really give you that self-worth, because self-worth is not something external, but I feel it is deeply internal, what you feel.
Yeah.
So that is one aspect. And also the self-worth comes, through something that you continuously keep doing. So, like we all maybe we set our goals and we have our aims, as to what to achieve in few years, whatever the timeline that we have set for ourselves. But how can we consistently keep it going? So for that, I think you need a bigger purpose in life, and that is very important. And each can have a unique purpose. It can be anything, right? From but I think it's very important to wake up to that purpose, and if you have not woken up already, to keep searching for it, because a bigger purpose would for me it would mean adding value to whichever situation or circumstance we are in, or maybe giving back to the society, or how can my life touch more lives? That could be a purpose for me, maybe. Yeah,
absolutely right.
That all this put together, I think, will really improve our self-worth. Yeah,
right. Really, absolutely right. Bang on. So Angela, you have been patiently listening to all of us, our stories, our backgrounds, how we got into competing, how we really then learned lessons and started complementing. You come from a very developed nation, a great economical powerhouse we call US. I want to know, how is it about these stories and this cultural difference? Does it exist there, or is it any different there for women in the US?
Listening to all these stories, it's all the same. Our sense of competition, and what I kept hearing over and over with those stories, is needing to prove ourselves, meaning that there's that feeling of not being enough, and we need to prove. So we're competing because we're trying to help other people see, and maybe even help ourselves see, that we're worthy enough, or smart enough, or strong enough, or capable enough. So to your point of self-worth being a key to this, I think if we want to step out of competition and into complementing, when you start to recognize your greatness, like how much you have to offer.
Absolutely.
Someone just shared about when you add value, you're recognizing the value that you have inside yourself. And the more you focus on the value in yourself and what you have to give to others, the more that raises your sense of worth and lowers your need to prove yourself. Because you're starting to realize the abundance inside of you instead of the scarcity. You're noticing what's there instead of what's lacking, right? So it's a big shift in your mindset when you focus more on yourself rather than others. But all the stories are the same. I think it matters what part of the world we're from. If we're working from a feeling of not being enough, I mean, we all have different cultures or family experiences that created that feeling in us.
Yes.
But competition is an underlying human issue. And I think it's for men too. I don't think it's just for females. I think everybody can get into that scarcity mindset where instead of looking at their value and looking at what they have to offer, they're looking at others and looking at their values and what they're having to offer, them feeling small inside themselves.
True.
So yeah, I don't hear anything that sounds different. It's all some things that I could really relate to in some of these stories. I had a brother who was the family, the golden child of the family, and he did, he was very good at sports, and I didn't even play sports, and so he got so much attention and recognition. So I can relate to some of those stories of just not feeling like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I get attention, or that sort of thing. Yeah, and also finding more of your feminine nature, which is not needing to compete or to prove or to dominate, but just allowing and accepting and being rather than doing. So I so many stories here I can relate to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, Angela. I mean, for clearing these illusions. We feel that this is more specific to our country and the upbringing that we have here. But I think she's proven a point that across locations, across all geography, where men and women are the same, they go through the same challenges. And like you truly said, I think this happens in men post-retirement when they have nothing to do. So that is where this lack of self-worth and question marks in their life and what do they do, and then driving a point or bringing people to give them attention happens to them at that age. Till then, they are quite happy with themselves and happy in their identity. So dear friends, this challenge remains everywhere, in every part of the world. I really want all of you to share your learning from this entire journey that all the women have shared with us today. Also, I believe that the universe did create men and women with different energies for one reason, that we should be able to complement each other.
Yes.
That today the biggest challenge in relationship, especially marriage, is because two men are getting married. And by that, what do I mean? I mean that though we are physically different, one comes in the shape of a female, other comes in the shape of a male, but we both just bring masculine energy towards the relationship. And when two men get married and stay under the same roof, what are they going to do? They're going to loggerhead, right? And fight for every bit of achievement and accomplishment. But that is not the way we can really have amazing, intimate relationship. And if the man and woman are not happy in that space, how will the family be happy? How will the children be living in peace and harmony? So if these two together don't complement each other, then it's a very difficult journey for them and for the family to come. And because that is true, I feel this discussion would be incomplete if we didn't have a male perspective towards the whole story. So I would really like to invite my better half, who's been hearing to all our stories and our journey, and really take his perspective on this entire thing. Over to you.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, and I'm a bit little nervous here.
Hello.
Because sharing a dais with such beautiful women. Okay, it is too much of complex already. I'm getting. Okay, so first of all, I would like to wish you and all the women on this earth and planet happy Women's Day, and I would really like to thank from the bottom of my heart each one of you for making this world a beautiful place. Had it been not for each one of you, I don't think so that this world would have been a beautiful place. So thank you so much. I believe that I have never ever thought about competing with any woman because I believe they're far better than us. So that is why I decided better not to compete, because it will unnecessarily, you will keep failing. And at the same time, when I was growing up, I was studying, not that good in studies. I was good in sports, and then I got into a job. But I realized that something is missing. I'm getting stuck. And I started praying, because I believe in God, and I started praying that, something is missing and I'm not able to grow. And I realized there are 4, 5, 6 things that are missing in my life. And I started praying, because I realized these things will never come to me, because we are also unique. We are also different. And these are the things which will never, ever come to me. And I realized I'll never grow. I'll never become successful. And then I started praying that, God, you need to help me, because I want to be successful. I wanted to turn around my family situation. I wanted to turn around many people's situation. And I had a very strong desire to serve people. But I realized, how will I be successful if I don't have these things in me? And then I started praying. And then God was so kind that he blessed me with a beautiful thing in my life. That's my wife. Okay, she was in the form of my prayer being answered. So all the things which I don't have, she has that so strongly in her. All of that, okay, all of that which was missing in my life, all those 5, 6 things due to which I was not growing, okay, she came in my life, and all of that has become her strength, her strong point. And that is why after she coming in my life, I think I grew at least 100 times. Because I knew what was missing, and that missing part became one. And both of us together, when we became one, we could grow so much. I think that's exactly what is extremely important, that each one of us can complement with each other. We don't need, my wife is an amazing daughter. She's an amazing sister. She's an amazing wife. She's an amazing daughter-in-law. She's an amazing coach. She's an amazing friend. She's an amazing student. Everything is amazing. Why? Because fundamentally, she's an amazing human. Okay, that's the key here. Because she's an amazing human, and this human has come in a woman's body, that is why she turns out to be an amazing woman. Same thing. It's not about men and women. It's about being amazing humans. Because first, we are humans which have come in 2 different bodies. That's it. If we are turned out to be amazing humans, definitely we'll be amazing men and women who together can create a wonderful and amazing world. Because the world needs this today. In the whole bargain of competing, we are losing the joy and charm of life itself. Mm-hmm. And we are losing the whole system everywhere. So I feel it's important that each one of us, let it be men and women, We need to come together and be one, and one as a team, go out and create a wonderful world. And that is why I feel that me and my wife, we've been able to, it's been more than 9 years, not even a single day we ever had, forget fight, I would touch wood, even an argument. The reason being, both of us are very clear. Who are we and what are we doing together? Together we are one. We know that, because without each other, we both would have failed. But because we are together, we are leading such a great, amazing, happy, passionate, fulfilled life. And I think that's exactly what each one of us need to do. Let it be men and women. Let's come together and complement each other and create a wonderful and amazing world. So that's from my end. Once again, thank you so much for having me here. I think, once again, I was very, very nervous because my wife very categorically told me you have only 2 minutes, because the minimum I speak is 2 hours to 12 hours. And she had told me you have to finish it in 2 minutes. And I have been rehearsing this for 1 hour to be able to speak for this 2 minutes. So thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Okay. Bye-bye. See you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dheeraj.
So dear friends, I feel that it is really a common conclusion that we all can come to, that as women, we are really born as nurturers. As women, we are born creative. As women, we are born to give. And nothing brings us greater joy than loving, sharing, caring, taking care of our loved ones. We might accomplish the best of accomplishments at work, but when you come back home and do some small little thing in your family, the smile that comes from your loved ones, I don't think there's any bigger treasure than that. So instead of really chasing the abilities that men have, why not really live in abundance the greatness that we have as females, we have as women, the creativity in us, the nurturing in us, the love that we can shower. I think no bigger gift we can give to this so-called other part of the universe, that is men, than our own true love. Love which is unconditional, love which is selfless. And the same love when extended to the world, it makes the world a beautiful place. I keep telling this to people whomever I meet, that my role model is Mother Teresa. What a beautiful woman she is. So much of love she showered on people. And that is why when you look at her, tears flow in your eyes, because compassion is seen on her face without even meeting her or seeing her life. So I think, why not all of us, instead of competing, not only competing with others, I feel sometimes we keep competing with that perfect image of a woman that we have in our minds. And that also makes us miserable. So why do that? Why not really grow every single day and compliment everyone around us? That will make this world a beautiful, peaceful, harmonious place to live in. And that's what we want to gift to our coming generations, isn't it? So anything, last statements that all of you have, you can speak up, and then we can, of course, end this session together. And for all these people who are there, lovely people who are there, Akash, Lavanya, Manjari, Neetu, Varun, Abhiruchi, Lata, who else? Bharti. I'm really sorry that I couldn't talk to you all directly, Sulekha. But you all have been there patiently watching us. I'm sure there's a lot that you have learned, or you would have, connected to us. There's Pallavi, there's JJ. Really share your learnings and your feedback. We would love to have it in terms of comments, and I promise you I'll reply to each and every comment. So the final statement from each one of you. Let's go from Angela. She was the last one to start, so let her be the first one to finish.
What's the question?
What is the last final thing, the conclusion that we would like to give to the session?
Yeah, I just want to back what you said about what women bring to the world. We have such a powerful and beautiful responsibility to bring our nurture, to bring our care, to bring our creativity, to bring our compassion, to bring our kindness, not to compete with a man and his gold. It's fine for us to have masculine qualities too, but we really shine and we really complement and bless the world when we step into our feminine natures and really let them shine. And I feel like sometimes women deny those parts of themselves, but the world needs it. And men in particular need that side of us as well.
Fantastic. Yes, Meena.
I think I'll just say that, just be yourself, keep growing and, keep growing yourself, and, you'll be able to spread a lot of happiness, and you'll be able to add a lot of value all across, I think. Yeah.
Thank you, Meena. Yes, Vidya.
So the best part of this session was, there's so much more that I can give rather than staying in that mindset of scarcity. There's so much that I can offer back to this world. If I think on that, I think I'm a superwoman, and I'm truly feeling fortunate that I've been part of this. I mean, it feels so awesome that I have so much to give, and why live in that scarcity? So that's a beautiful takeaway for me from this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vidya. Yes, Amrita.
I think it's all about accepting and not trying to be the man. I think there is a reason why men and women are created, differently. So I think it's all about accepting. And like Angela and Vidya also, and you also shared, feeling that abundance of giving back of what I as a woman have. I think I have to really give it back. And yeah, men do need that love and caring, definitely. It's natural to us. So why not give it a lot, not only to your partner or family, but to the world? Really, I think the world really needs it.
Thank you, Amrita. Yes, Ina.
Yeah, so I would go back to what Dheeraj said, like we have so much more, right? So there's no point in competing. I think we should not be scared. I think somewhere women feel fear, they feel fear to show that side, the softer side of themselves. I think we should not be fearful or scared of showing that side, because that's a beautiful one. I really believe I've seen that in my mother when she gives food to my father, and when she serves us or do something for us. Like I've seen that with my sisters now because they have babies. I think it's so beautiful, and it just brings the whole another dimension to you, right? And it's so beautiful. So I think we should embrace it and be open about it, show it with full love, and yeah, with open heart. Yeah.
Thank you, Ina. Yes, Bobby.
So for me, since the theme of this discussion was compliment, not compete. So I think the only person that you need to compete with is yourself, and to be a better person each day, and compliment, I think, every relationship around you. So that's what I take away.
Thank you. Yes, Anuja.
So my biggest takeaway was be true to your nature. What we do is we hide or cover up our femininity and avoid or hold back from giving love, care, being nurturing to our family and loved ones. And that is what makes us very unhappy, because it's in our nature to give. And when we hold that back, we are actually going backwards in life, keeping everything to ourselves, not giving enough. And that makes us really sad, that feeling of guilt and anxiety and worry that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. That is what comes up. So I think that it is very important to embrace yourself just the way you are, your femininity, and go all out.
Thank you, Anuja. Yes, Shreya.
I think I felt that after hearing everything and all the people speak, I think we should really celebrate our womanhood and the qualities that we have been endowed with. So really magnify those, celebrate those, give it, and give it to those around us, back to the society, in a way that is adding value and complementing each and everyone around us. Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti. Yes, Diti.
I just feel don't live in that perfect picture of a woman. Don't keep looking for that. Rather, as women, we anyways give ourselves our best in whatever we do. So just feel happy about that.
Great. Yes, Janvi.
So I think my takeaway was, to identify the weaknesses that you have, change them, and really become happy. And the faster you do, the earlier you will become happy.
True. Very true. Thank you, Janvi. Yes, Shefali.
Yeah, so I feel that so not to compete and keep on complimenting, because that really helps, and that makes you happy from within, and your inner beauty is more important than your external beauty.
Absolutely, bang on. Very nice. So together, let's really wish every woman on this earth a
Happy
Women's Day. very much, dear friends. It was amazing. We really rocked. It was so much of fun chatting with each other. I don't know what happened to the audience. We'll get to know later, but it was so much fun having this discussion.
Yes.
And yes, there are people.
We panelists had the most
amazing. It was amazing experience of being here today on this panel. Thank you so much for the support.
Yep.
Thank you.
True.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Have a great
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a
Bye.
great night.
Bye.